Yo, it's Guido coming at you with another tank review, and today we've got the XM57. Finished 10 battles in this one. Went quite a bit better than the Squall. I think we ended at 80%, so bit of luck in there for sure. But I did a lot better than the Squall. This is if you wanted to skip the entirety of the rest of the video, this is a very competent assault TD with a couple interesting strengths to it. And maybe not quite as good an armor profile as it looks on paper. We'll talk about that as we go, but it's pretty good overall. This is an American Tier 8 Premium TD. It's part of the Christmas Ops or Holiday Ops 2024. It is in the boxes. That's how you get this thing, at least right now. That's what it looks like. It's got this kind of crazy front turret. It's 75 degrees azimuth on each side, field of regard with the gun, so it's kind of one of these half turret things going on without, it's this weird kind of bubble thing sticking out from the rest of the casemate right there. Very interesting, or the rest of the hull, I suppose. It's not exactly a casemate, but think maybe, well, I don't have them called up here, but think maybe the last year's XM thing, whatever, 66 or something like that. We'll compare it to that one as we go. So like I said, I did get 80% of this. Let's take a quick look at my setup. I did not run a lot of try-hard, although I do have the mobility improvement system. I quite like that. If you're going to run turbo on anything, my recommendation is run that thing. I mean, yes, the improved, and I think the bounty gets a few more kilometers an hour, but you're also getting some little buffs to your gun on there as well. So it's a kind of a combination vert stab and turbo. I quite like that piece of equipment. I ran a straight IA and rammer. Probably not the setup you're going to see some of the other guys use. I wanted to really get that dispersion down because it starts, I want to say 0.41 or 0.42 as the standard dispersion. It's not very accurate gun. So with this setup, running food and Brothers in Arms, I get this thing down to a 0.37. I carried 12 of each round. If we take a look at the penetration, you're getting a very nice 270 with the standard and 315 with the premium round right there. As always, if you hear banging in the background, I'm living in a construction zone right now. 6 HE rounds, which is going to give you 90 pen for 900 average damage. And this thing is slapping you for 630. That's kind of its thing. We'll talk about that as we go, though, because you might already be thinking about how there's some tier 8s that have 750. And also more DPM. We'll get to that, though. We'll get to that. I did run coal on that. I'm not running any secondary loadouts right now. I only did 10 battles. My crew is pretty good. There are 3 skills working on their 4th. As you can see, it's a commander, gunner, driver, loader with the radio operator in the command position. There are multiple American TDs that have this setup. So I think I actually put a different crew in here. Yeah, it's part of my T95 crew that I threw in there. So I don't know, to be honest. We'll have to go back and look at it again. Let's see, how many of them were there, though, from, say, Tier 8 to 9? I don't think there's any exactly similar. Now, of course, the 110E4's got the same commander, radio operator. They just has an extra loader. Same thing with the 110. Let's say the T30 has a bunch of extra guys. You're not going to have the radio operator on your commander for the T30, so that doesn't really work. The TS60, similar extra loader. So really, you're sort of got an extra loader. But a lot of these different tanks, of course, really what you're looking for probably is training for your tech tree tanks. This one's exactly right. So the T95, it matches that. T28, it does match the T28, so not bad. Prototype has an extra guy in there, and you don't have a radio operator. So it's a little bit clumsy, but you will be able to find crews for it. It's not a one-off crew, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. It is a premium, so you're going to get extra credits, you're going to get extra experience, all that good stuff. So that was my crew, how I ran that thing. Let's take a look at the stats real quick. The stats do not equate an 80% win rate. Of course, 80% over 100 battles is nigh impossible unless you're unbelievably good or unbelievably lucky. What's interesting about these, though, is, and it's behind me right here, whatever I'm trying to say. My best damage was 2,065. My average is 1,655, which means I didn't have any real big games with this thing. What I found with it is it's just sort of a plodder, and you're going to get some damage, essentially. When you're hitting for 630, even if you get 3 shots in that hit, you're probably in the 1,500 to 2,000 range just from those 3 shots. But that's kind of the problem. It is plotting. For the rest of these, 70% hit rate, not bad for the inaccuracy of that gun. I did survive 50%, but when you have an 80% win rate, that's going to help your survival. 1.61 damage, 2.8 on the destruction ratio. Armor use is up there, 0.72. So it's not super heavy levels of 1.0, which is where you know your armor is awesome. It's not quite situational at 0.5, say a turret or something like that. It's in between those, so it is useful armor, and I think it does an okay job in the assault TD regime based on that, but we'll talk about some of the danger things you want to watch out for. Only 316 on the assist. So I did all right in this tank. How much? What do we end up here? We got 11% in 10 battles, all right? How is it doing overall? These are really early numbers, fellas, and you can't take a whole bunch away from it, but we can take a look at it and say, well, it's not just completely sucking. It lives right here, the XM57. It's 4th currently, but look at how high the player win rate is overall for who's playing it, and it is underperforming minus 0.34. Kind of similar to the Kari, to be honest, and the Kari's been out for a very long time, so I don't suspect it's going to drop too much, but it might live more so down in this area. So it's not at the bottom, and it may not even be mid. I think it's top 3rd, to be honest, of the Tier 8 TDs. And for people who like the Assault TD type of gameplay, and I'm talking TS5, XM, I guess it is an XM57F, T28, some of the other assault TDs that are out there, the Kari, things like that. What other tanks? The Grom, the Turtle, the other tank, the Vipera, you know, sort of the slugging, heavily armored TDs. This will be right up your alley. It's kind of the same tank with some very interesting little specialities that we'll talk about. All right. What else we got? Let's take a look at its armor. That's what I wanted to talk about a little bit. It's very interesting. Now, this is the armor profile against its own gun, which is rolling, as I recall, a 270, right? So a 270 pin. You go, well, that's not too great because you kind of got this big lower plate, and it is angled, but 270 is going through a good portion of it. Here's the turret thing right here, right? And that's what this is, where that's extremely strong, this area in here, okay? Although the mantlet's interesting as it kind of rolls back. That's a little bit weaker right there. But notice this kind of, I don't know, shoulder area back behind it that is exposed. If we go to the visual, you can see that bit right there, right, is not as thick. And against a 270 pin, it's pinnable. And there's a hatch, right? Now, the other problem or interesting thing about this tank is when you come around a corner, because it has 75 degrees off bore sight with its gun, you will be tempted at times to come around with your gun 75 off and the front of your tank sticking out and exposing this, right? Or if you over angle in a side scrape, you expose the side of that turret, which is not particularly strong either. So watch out for how you're using this thing in terms of where your gun is pointing. I also found I'd get this turret pin because it's elongated. If I'm looking a different way, say I shoot someone and I back out and maybe don't pay attention to where my turret is and it moves a little bit, it's going to flat plate that thing a little bit, and I took a lot of shots that way. So be very careful. As long as you're pointing straight at whatever is shooting at you, you're in good shape, minus this little area here. Now, 270 is pretty good pin. That's going to be a premium pin for a lot of heavies. It's going to be fairly standardish for a lot of the TDs. I'm talking only at tier 8 right now, but probably going to have to dab 2 to get that high of pin, of minus a few tanks. Let's take a look at a low. This is versus the Lurva. All right. So a little bit of angle there. It's not quite as bad. There's still, you know, it's rolling a 234 penetration without gold. Now, if anyone presses gold, then again, the hunchback is in play. The turret's always in play, but it's just a little bit better looking. What did we do here? How did I get to this point? I don't know. I pressed something bad. Anyway, point being that if it's a lower pin, especially if you start talking about the standard pin of some of the premium tanks or premium preferential tanks that are sitting around 208, 210 pin, pretty dang good armor. All right, but if you can bait them into shooting that little turret hatch thing, you're in really good shape. All right, that's what I wanted to talk about with the armor. So we did all right. Like I said, 80%. It's only 10 battles, so it's a low sample size. But overall, it felt good. I always felt like I was able to get damage. I never really felt like I was dominating a game yet with this thing. I didn't have a breakout game. As I said, I only had a 2,000 damage as my top game. We'll show you a couple, one, maybe two games here. But it just felt like you could get to the fight. You could influence the fight pretty well. You got the armor. You can push. You can be part of the heavy brawl. But if the battle gets away from you, it's so slow, it's really difficult to get this thing back into the fight. And I really don't think it's something you want to snipe with. Its accuracy is not great, and its strength is in its armor and helping your heavies bring another pretty tough gun to the front. All right? So let's compare with a few of its compatriots, and we'll talk about that gun just a little bit. 630 Alpha. I also have the ISU, which is the big daddy at 750, and I've got three other kind of assault TDs, although the Kauri is a bit of a mixture. The old TS5, which is quite popular, and the XM57F, which came out last year. They're both sitting at 400, the Kauri at 500, and the ISU at 750. If we slide down here and take a look at the DPM, this is where it gets interesting. The 630 Alpha with a long reload of 18 seconds, all right, is only giving you 2,075 alpha. Or sorry, DPM. That would be a good alpha. DPM. The TS5 is almost 1,000 more. It's at least 900 more, right? 800 something. Yikes. XM 600, at least 300 here. Even more with the ISU. The ISU 750 alpha, guys, same reload at 18 seconds, okay, is getting more DPM by 400-ish. Well, what you're getting out of this thing is more armor than an ISU, so that's the balancing factor. But it is anemic, guys, in terms of being able to dish out damage over time. Yeah, 630 slaps. But what I found with it is you see a lot of 500 damage shots. When you get into these high alphas, because of plus or minus 25, it can be a wide variance of damage. You see a 560, 570 out of this thing. That's something that a Scorpion can do, or a ISU, or a Su 130 can do. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the Scorpiansky is. Now that has to be a high roll for that, but I just felt like I'd like, ooh, let me get him for 600, and I'm like 570, 580. I'm like, no, that didn't feel as good. It didn't feel as good. And I know I've got that long gun reload before I can get the shot out again. So it does suffer in DPM. However, it does have flexibility in that it's got a 75-degree azimuth. The XM56F is nice in its flexibility of 30 degrees, but this thing can look sideways, essentially, just about. Lacks a little bit in the gun depression at -7. Here's the gun accuracy, 0.41. Not actually, the TS5 is a little worse than that. XMF is much more accurate. Kauri, quite accurate. Even the ISU, the derpy 152, is the same at 0.41. Here's the armor, 305 for that turret, which is quite strong. But remember, some of the whole armor is in play, and that's the 121. This is kind of a misdirection. Let's take a look over here real quick. Yeah, that Hunchback impacted armor is about one. It kind of depends on where it is, but it is anywhere from 150. It sort of changes, somewhere 150 to 180, and it is the upper plate that is, looks like 108. So this is what drives me crazy about their armor numbers here. I don't know where that 102 is supposed to be, because this is 108. You can't see it. I'm just looking at it. It's very strange. It might be the Hunchback they're talking about. It may be the upper plate at the strongest point. That's possible. But 121 is not that great based on the profile that we saw. But 305, right on that really strong matlet thing, matlet turret, whatever you want to call it there. That's quite strong at being bait people to shoot it. Not very fast, fellas. It's only doing 24. That's why I put the turbo, the experimental turbo on it. In fact, it's slower than all of these other ones here. 26, you know, TS5 is known to be slow, and this thing is 2 kilometers an hour slower than it is. Camo, not much to speak of. It's actually the highest, the best of all of these. I don't know. I guess it's lowest profile. Who knows? But it's only 16. Not amazing. Traverse speed's okay at 22. so it's not too bad. And the nice thing about this, though, guys, is it's a bit like a turreted tank, right? Yeah, traverse with a casemate's a big problem, but it also adds the turret at least to the 75 stop. So if you do need to turn and shoot somebody, you can turn your turret and your tank and get a little bit extra turn out of it, at least temporarily, until you hit the stop of the turret. So you can deal with people trying to circle you a little bit better right there. Specific power is okay at 13. So what do we have on this thing? Well, an interesting armor profile that can work in certain cases. As you saw, mine's 0.72. That might come down over time because I didn't play a lot of top tier games. I've compared mostly against tier 8s in my discussion on the armor. Clearly, when you start to take on 9s and 10s, some of that stuff goes out the window, especially when they dab 2 and pen just about everything. But the strong little turret guy right here, all right, it's a good strength, and you just have to kind of work around the weaknesses of the armor. It does side scrape pretty nicely with an 89 on its side armor. The weird thing is that the gun is so far forward that a lot of your arse end has to come out before you can clear the gun from anything you're side scraping out from, so just watch out from that. But putting angles on people with this thing is going to help you out quite a bit. I will say one thing about that, I forgot to mention it. Come back here. Be careful because as we side scrape, right, we see all this purple. It's all good. That's a little indifferent here. This turret should be pointing right at the bad guys. But watch what happens to this shoulder thing when you get a little too far. Oopsie. Right there. Okay, so over angling. You're still looking good down here. This is okay. Of course, that turret will be pointing at us. Let's do this. How does this thing work? I did it. All right. So pretty good armor profile. Not great right here. Then there's this shoulder thing. So even if you had rubble right here, this guy is saying shoot me, F me. So you want to be, you know, somewhere in here. And still, though, that's a bit weak depending on the pen of the enemy guy that you're trying to side scrape. It's okay. It's okay at side scraping. Clearly, that's better than just driving out and letting them shoot you straight on the bottom hatch or coming out sideways or something stupid. All right, let's take a look at some gameplay with the XM57. All right, off we go. We are here on Glacierdorf, Himmel's Glacierdorf, and you can see that everyone else is off to the races. Look how far ahead the heavies are from this thing. We're just toddling along at 28, 29, and that's with the turbo. Zoom, zoom, fellas. There's that off-bore sight capability with that little turret. And off we go. See, the other XM is a little bit ahead of me, took a better line. I went a little further away, so I could probably be, well, I could definitely be where he is, but still, look how far the Peregrine 50 TPPR and the rest of them outdistance us. Now, what I like about this is you can go with the heavies and do what we're about to do here. As I said, I didn't have any breakout games, so I'm not about to drop 3, 4, 5,000 right here. In fact, it's a fairly moderate amount of damage, but I just wanted to show you this because I'm going to get in here with the heavies. We're going to beat up this flank, and then I'm going to struggle really to get back into the game. To some extent, it's a decision on my part, but you know, when I first start playing these tanks, I want to experiment with them, see what they can do. All right, that's too much angle. Let's see if this guy's going to hit me. All right, so he just thumped me. I'm not 100% sure where he got me. It's so hard to see sometimes on these, and I got the sun in my eye, rocking my shoe. Did he go into the lower plate? Oh, look at that. So he just got me in the lower plate, even though I'm angled right there. It wasn't a whole bunch angle. Very interesting. I would have said, yeah, pretty flat there. Don't know. And it was a regular AP, so there you go. Nice shot on his part. So we eat some shots, and I'm just going to go press him, right? We're going to take this armor, we're going to take this 630 Alpha gun, and we're going to get in their face. We've pushed them back, so I'm following up with the heavies right there. Get a little closer to my work. That's one thing you want to do when you're talking about a inaccurate gun. The closer you get, the better off generally you'll be. So we're going to come around here. I'm going to try to sneak a shot on the Nurgle. And I missed. I missed so bad I hit the 100-01 who was sideways to me. There's that 585, right? It's a 630 Alpha, right? Like, oh, 585. I got an UDES 03 shooting me. Bounce that. We'll try to kill the Nurgle here. We're going to get a little zoom and get into his hole. Remember, don't shoot those tracks sticking out front on the Nurgle. So we blocked 240, and this is looking good, right? Everything's looking nice. We've got our 118, 1,180. I'm going to take a blind shot into there. And we are currently working just AP, fellas, so we're not... Ooh, didn't mean to get caught up with him. All right. I don't want to push into there, although the XM and the contradict us. The nice thing about the position now is because of this rock, you don't get shredded totally by the guys camping back here, but there's only so far you can go before you clear those, or they might move for a different line of sight, all that good stuff. And it's just the 100-01 with a few hit points, so I don't feel the need to push. Although, in retrospect, with this tank and its speed and its armor, and we were winning this flank and the other flanks are fine, I probably should have got in there and helped them finish off the 100-01. We're just going to speed this up, because it takes me forever, right? We're only doing, what, 28. So be careful on your repositions. I always say you're never too slow to reposition, but you got to analyze the situation as best you can. And I think, as I said in retrospect, I probably should have pushed with those guys. But we're going to come back this way, because I was sort of worried about the middle. Not a problem now. And I'm like, let's get over where the BZ-166 is. And no, okay, yeah, we'll go help kill these guys. Oh, no, someone's killing him. No, okay, I'll go over here. I mean, look at all the driving I do. Get up here, he disappears, that guy's hiding. All the way over here, nice and slow. I'm going to try to race the other XM that's trying to get up the hill. I've got to go all the way around all this stuff. So, a bit over careful, I would say, fellas, and just could not quite get the tank into position, not fast enough. It's why generally good players don't particularly like the slow tanks, even though they've got really good armor. They are quite situational in a lot of cases, and it's just difficult to get in and get shots. So I get spotted here, the squall dies, so I don't have any opportunity there. Cool thing with the 75 degrees is I could have driven up there, shot him sideways while driving relatively this way and moving on to the UDES. And that's one of those strengths when you've got that much field of regard with your TD. Something, ooh, I'm going to get a bunch of slap out of this guy here. I think I reload. Did I reload HE? I believe I did. Well, I can't see it highlighted. That's very interesting. Let's see what happens here. Nope, he took a big hit. That is a bummer. We'll zoom in a little bit here and slap him down. There we go. But he only had 256. That brings me up to a whopping 1,416. Do I get this damage, or does someone else kill him? Nope, I don't. There's that long reload, right? This just a bad DPM. You know, I'm sitting there forever. I'm like, reload, man. Come on, you got to reload. All right, that's the first example. So essentially what I've come to the conclusion on this thing is it's tough but not particularly sexy, which is sort of every casemate or gameplay type. You know, the Marbrecker right next to me is a similar idea in a heavy, right? It's just a big plodding beast. It's got armor, which will help you get away with a few things here and there, or get lucky because of the armor. But you're not zipping around the map, you know, flexing to every flank, saving the day, all that kind of stuff. All right, so we're getting shot in the side. We'll take a shot at him. Bounce. Now that's an extremely strong turret. We got a Barask over there, so we'll put our front armor to him. All right, what is going on here? Okay, we'll maybe shoot him. Nope, a little too late. Fairly long on the zoom in on that. No artillery, so we have some options here. I do have to be careful about working the bottom side here because of that. And I just get beat up by the squall. He actually penetrates. Notice I was just a little bit too much sideways to him. But we'll keep on trundling around here. It's a really low profile tank, so it will minimize the ability of guys on that hill in situations like this to shoot you. But remember, it's only -7 on the... I got the hatch of the contradict us. Hey, you get close enough, that .41 doesn't matter as much, fellas. Got a drill going on back there. See if we can get this guy. No, all right. So they've moved this map around a little bit. This position is not quite as bad, but it is a good place to get slapped by artillery. All right, what did we get on that guy? A 620, a 609. So we didn't quite get. Have we ever, I don't know if how many above average hits I've ever had with this tank. I just feel like I'm always hovering around 500 with it, despite it supposedly being 630 alpha. Very interesting. That is anecdotal, and it's obviously just a feeling. Over time, it won't be true for sure. All right, so we got the Progetto over there. We're going to ignore him. It looks like our guys are tearing him up. They are pushing pretty hard over on the other side. They've cleaned up some tanks over there, but we've got them down 4-2. All right, there's a little HE for that fella. I knew that he was there. He did get some damage off me though, right? Look at that, 73. So not impenetrable. He went into that lower hole more than likely. I don't know what do the penetrations look like when those guys hit you. No idea. Do they not show up? I don't. That's something I need to look into. I don't know if the little autocannons even have damage models. Anybody know the answer? Throw it down in the comments. I've never looked at it. It would be a lot of little damage models though, wouldn't it? Are they not there? Are they too small to see? A little bit worried here because I've got an XM57 over here somewhere and I've got another one over here, so I don't want to just drive down into the middle. I also don't know where this Bat Chat 12T is, and I've only got 1,300 hit points, 776 left, so a couple XM shots, or there we go, let's get him. He dies. BC nuked him. Where was the BC that shot him? Oh, behind me. Okay, I didn't even notice that counts. All right. 594. There's another low roll, guys. 36 low. And a long reload. I mean, I feel like I'm a BZ right now. It is very BZ-esque on the reload, to be honest. And he's got a 6 million alpha, and I only have 630. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what he's got. I have been W'ing a lot so far. And it just feels like I'm not getting a whole lot of places. Let's see if we get this dude. Man. Snapped a shot off, got lucky on the lance, and he missed. Oh, I blocked actually. Boom. Oh, he got another one into me. Look at that. Ammo racked me. Terrible. Terrible. Oh, the Lancin still has shots. So that was dumb. So, side armor, guys. They will shoot you. The Progetto dies. Taking me forever to get reloaded. Oh, I thought that was mine actually when I took that shot. When he died, but that was not true. Still ammo racked. 27 seconds to get that back. We're going to try to come off of this cliff right here, which I don't do particularly well. As I recall, I think I lose a good chunk of my hit points that I had left. Maybe going a little too fast. Oh, it was 293. Nearly took myself out. Left myself 12 hit points. Oh, I remember this now. I'm going to actually get myself into a position to maybe get a chunk of damage off this guy. The Blesk is tearing him up. I shoot, but I get an armor not hit, so I went a little too far to the right. I can't see it. Yeah, I must have got down into the tracks. Yep, too low and to the right. That is a bummer. We're going to try to ram him. But he dies before I can get it. Yep, I did destroy his track. There you go. So I got a little more assist. Not bad, though, with the assist. I mean, it's a 3,100 combined. Didn't notice that until just now. So that's not bad at all. But as you can see, even when you're on a relatively small map where the fight is almost always on the W, it took me, oh, you're just kind of like, oh, get me there. All right, let's wrap it up. All right, fellas, what is the final verdict? I quite like this. If you are the Casemate Assault TD player, I think you're going to like this tank. It's actually pretty dang competent in that case. The 630 I found to not be as you might look at that and go, ooh, that's awesome. It just wasn't really a game changer, and the reload really hurts this thing. Its DPM is atrocious and its speed is bad. So those two things really combine to limit its capability, except in those situational games where you're able to get in there and you've got a lot of punchy face going on, and you've got the luxury and the time to sit back and wait for the reload, and those shots are connecting and penning. And I know that's asking a lot in this game, and it is 100% asking a lot in this game. That being said, because it is a 630 alpha and it's got some armor which will keep you in fights, you will get your damage. I think the super high damage games will be a little bit more further and fewer between, based on just its flexibility to gobble up damage in romple stomps, or even in losses where things are coming at you. The reload is so long, you're just going to have a hard time churning out a lot of damage unless you get that situation where you're allowed to just get those shots down range, reload forever, get those shots down range, and its accuracy is working against it. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of stuff, little things working against it, but the total package is pretty good for an assault TD. Pretty good for an assault TD. I think it wouldn't take a whole lot before you made this thing kind of overpowered. A couple tweaks here and there, and it could be absolutely a beast. Well, you know, if you shaved a couple seconds off of its reload, it would be quite the little monster. Really, the XM57 is sort of that prototype, even with a 400 alpha. Not saying it's overpowered, but just that general idea of churning out damage, you know, because it reloads so fast. All right, fellas, that's all I've got. The XM57. I think, like I said, if you're a casemate assault TD kind of guy, I think you're going to like this tank. That is all I've got. Let me know what you think down below. See ya.